You piece of shit. He fucking hit me out of the jump! Oh my god! You know what, I'm just gonna say it. Darkside Phil was right about Dark Souls. Okay, well that's the worst part of the game out of the way. Ugh, Jesus fucking Christ. You were about to hear some fucking fireworks going off if that didn't work. Rage is something that a lot of people think they're supposed to be ashamed of and suppress. However, what if I told you that it's actually a natural part of the learning process, and that embracing it can accelerate how fast you learn new skills? Now, I'm not saying that you can just slam your fist on the table and scream and you'll suddenly be better at what you're doing. That only works for stuff like weightlifting as far as I know. What I'm saying is that simply accepting that you're going to rage once in a while can help you push your limits and stick with something when others would burn out. I'm going to use Dark Souls as an example a lot here, because it's probably the series where stubbornly throwing yourself against a challenge and pushing through frustration is the most necessary. But this advice isn't even specific to just video games. For instance, I used to be a supervisor at a grocery store. Learning how to multitask while a bunch of entitled idiots scream at you and a bunch of newbie cashiers cry for help might have been the most enraging thing I had done so far in life at that point. One day, one of the cashiers told me that she always likes when I'm on duty because I'm so calm and I don't get mad. What I didn't tell her was that in order to get to that point, I had to work for maybe not a long time, but a hard time. I had to be proud and stubborn enough to keep doing something that was akin to willingly sticking your balls into a meat grinder over and over again, and deal with the moments of I either need to punch a wall or quit this job that came with it. I'll never go back to that hellish job, but what matters is that I stuck with it until I got good. So before you level-headed types try to argue against what I'm saying and provide some little citation or something that you think contradicts it, keep in mind that I have years of diverse first-hand experience backing up what I say. In that same time in my life, I was also starting to play two notoriously difficult video games. One was Dark Souls, and the other was Chivalry Medieval Warfare. It may seem insane to put myself through all that while my job is stressful enough, but when you're in a dead-end job, you need something to be passionate about. And guys, when I tell you I raged, it was serious. I broke a few controllers and at least one mouse. I would scream and get into flame wars with people online. I felt like sometimes my jaw would unhinge like a snake so that more volume could come out with each shout. And you know what? I'm glad I did all that and got it out of the way back then. The thing is, nowadays I don't rage at video games nearly as often, but that's because I'm now a homeowner with more important things to rage about. Growing up doesn't mean you stop raging, it just means you go from ripping your monitor in half over a video game to stomping on your lawnmower when the goddamn stupid piece of shit refuses to start and the city is already breathing down your neck about your grass being too long. If I had waited until I had all these big boy responsibilities before I tried to get good at games like Dark Souls, I never would have learned them. Without the time and energy to really force my way through the learning curve, I would have quit. It's a good thing I raged out when I was younger so that I can play the games in a mostly relaxed fashion now, due to being so much better at them. As a matter of fact, I got so good at Chivalry that when I'd go on the duel servers, I'd routinely go 10-0 and get called a pub stomper once, despite never being affiliated with a clan. That's really the life lesson here. It's not that rage itself makes you better at things, it's that giving yourself permission to rage makes you better. Once you realize there's no shame in screaming and hitting things, you stop wasting energy fighting against yourself and you don't burn out as quickly. Anger outbursts are just the exhaust produced when you encounter a situation where you're supposed to give up, but you push through anyway. If you're absolutely determined to keep a level head, you'll often find yourself quitting a lot easier. This is a kind of inhibition you might not even notice on a conscious level. If you see your own anger as this dirty thing that you're afraid to touch, a lot of times you'll just accept defeat instead of forcing things and dealing with the anger that comes with it. This is how you end up with that low agency, go with the flow kind of lifestyle that allows fate to determine which things are for you and which things aren't. The true virtue here is not anger, but the willingness to force things. Everything that's truly worth achieving in life is worth forcing. It may sound silly to take a video game that seriously, and if that's not for you, that's fine. However, the reason I got my college degree and graduated with honors is because I forced it. The reason I own my own home is because I forced it. The reason I'm not still working at a grocery store and living with my parents is because I forced it. Every bit of adversity that I've overcome because I hardened my head and decided that I was going to set a standard and refuse to go below it, no matter how angry it made me or how long it took. Starting small with something like Dark Souls may have mentally prepared me for the kind of mindset I needed in order to face the more important challenges in life. In every job I've had, the moments where I was sweaty and hard to talk to were the moments where my productivity was the highest. The mindset of "I'm going to force this" does lead to anger as a side effect. There's simply no way around this. However, if you react to frustration by screaming or slamming your fist on the table rather than by walking away, you can condition yourself to associate frustration with doubling down rather than with giving up. If you walk away every time you get frustrated, you'll severely limit how much practice you're able to squeeze in each day when it comes to harder skills. You may be saying that it's not a binary choice between raging out or giving up, but if the situation is difficult enough, it absolutely is. The notion that we can simply deny anger the permission to enter our bodies is self-deception of the highest order. What challenges are worth devoting this level of effort and hard-headedness to? That's up to you to decide for yourself. So the next time you lose your cool and throw your controller while playing a tough game like Dark Souls, don't let people make you feel ashamed for it. This really is one of those situations where most of society is wrong and the minority is right. That happens a lot more often than most people would admit, by the way. Before I even got to this point, there's probably already some dork in the comments who cries when someone yells at him trying to explain how I'm wrong. If someone tells you that you should be embarrassed for getting mad and freely expressing that anger, you need to realize that they simply aren't taking the thing you're getting mad at as seriously as you do. There's nothing inherently wrong with not taking something seriously unless it's a critical thing, but those who don't take something seriously won't improve as quickly. And if you divert mental resources away from actually developing and practicing the skill and divert them toward trying to remain calm, that will break your focus more than it helps it. If you made it this far, tell me your best salty stories in the comments. I'll see you guys next time.